Hello all, welcome to another episode of the Terrarium channel, as it's called in English, or het Terrarium kanaal in Dutch. This one is going to be in English. I've been meaning to do an English version again for a while, but simply time is against me and the Dutch episodes take up so much of my time. So yeah, I'm just very busy in this room at the moment. The Gonjasoma have been placed in a really big terrarium. I did an episode on this, but also in Dutch. Here I placed some aquariums. I need to put lighting above today. And last episode was about decorating this terrarium. It's a 60, 45, 90 centimeters high exterior glass terrarium. And I decorated this for two Cryptolythrops macrops, Terrarium macrops. In English I believe it's called a big-eyed green pit viper. Way too long of a name. Why don't you could just call it Terrarium macrops? It's way easier and correct. Anyway, I was planning to do an episode about this one also in English, but as soon as I finished the Dutch episode, I lost all of the footage of the English episode, so sorry about that. So I was thinking about a way just to make that up, maybe do a small tour, but there's a lot in hibernation. I'm still busy with stuff and I'm expecting some new things, so I'm waiting for that first. And then I figured, I'm busy with these. I have 3 terrariums set up here. 1, 2, 3. 90 centimeters long, 45 centimeters deep, and either 45 or 30 centimeters high. And as you can see, there's a layer of water in here. Layers of water are 5 to 10 centimeters depending on the terrarium. And these terrariums I set up for Lanthanotus borneensis, otherwise known as the Borneo earless monitors. These are some of the coolest lizards ever. I already have one in here, I also have one in there, but I needed to fix this one because it wasn't watertight perfectly. So I sealed it, I cleaned it, I flushed it several times because I don't want anything to happen to these animals. And now I filled it up with some decoration and it's time to place the last Lanthanotus in here. So I figured this is going to be a cool one for the English video. It's a little bit more of advanced keeping when it comes to the animals, although to be honest, they're not that difficult to keep. You just have to think about some certain things. So I'm going to show you the terrariums and then I'm going to show you the Lanthanotus and we're going to place it in the terrarium. So I hope this is going to be a cool short English episode for you all. And yeah, let's do this. No time to waste. These are the terrariums. 3 above each other. As you can see, I have more place here because there are coming new Lanthanotus. More adults are coming in a few weeks, so I need to make everything ready for those, so I'm busy with that. As you can see, the light color is a bit different between the 3 terrariums. That's because I'm simply trying to figure out what I like more, which gives all the best color. Lanthanotus is a bit light shy, so I don't want the lamps to be too bright, but I also want the plants to grow sufficiently. As you can see, this is one of the terrariums I've set up for a week or 2 now. I placed in a lot of pothos and Epipremnum, Scindapsus, also some Java fern, but mostly these plants. And these are perfect plants for any aquatic Asian setup because they grow really well in a wet surrounding and they take up a lot of nutrients with their roots out of the water. So that also includes waste your Lanthanotus or other aquatic reptile or amphibian produces. So yeah, perfect plant to use. A lot of you people know it and I really like it. I almost hate it because everybody uses it, but yeah, we use it for a reason. This is pretty much a basic setup for Lanthanotus young. The youngsters, so in their first years, pretty much don't come onto land and they mostly hide in the water. So they don't need like thick substrate or something to dig in. Once they get older, especially females, will come onto land more and will dig more. This, I have to say, the experience with this changes between breeders and keepers. Some people say they almost never come onto land, especially not males. Some people see their animals on land quite a lot. A while ago we had a really big male. I will insert a picture of him in this video. The keeper that kept him before told us that he didn't come onto land for at least 1.5 years. So for 1.5 years that animal hasn't gone on the land, even though he had the option to do so. But then he arrived at our place and after a while he actually came out of the water and hid under a piece of corkbark on the land. It was really strange. And then we checked the water temperature and it was actually pretty high. It was 28 degrees because there was terrarium beneath it that was highly heated. So we think he came out of the water because the temperature rose too much. So maybe that's something to think about when we keep these animals, is the temperature of the water. We don't want them to get too cool, of course. They come from a subtropical climate in Borneo, but in these climates you also often see with Asian turtles, there are these microclimates where the temperatures are a little bit lower. So yeah, these youngsters we keep in a temperature of 25, 26, sometimes 27 depending on time of the year. As you can imagine, the bottom one is a bit cooler as the top one, but the bottom one we're gonna heat extra with a thermostat heater that's also used in aquariums. And yeah, adults people also keep a bit cooler, 24, 25 degrees, sometimes even cooler. Night temperatures, we never let it drop beneath 20, but we still have a lot to learn about them. And if there's any people with more experience about like nighttime temperatures or more data on that, please let us know. We like to know more about these animals and yeah, make sure we're doing it properly. But they seem to do fine. The youngsters grow, they feed, at night they are really active, but by day you probably won't see them, maybe a head poking out. This is terrarium a setup for the one we're gonna introduce to it now. As you can see, I use sponge filters to filtrate the water. They are off now because of the sound, but normally these are on 24/7. And once every 2 weeks, I take out at least 50% of the water, or once every week 25%, depending on time. I take off the sponge, I flush it out and put it back. I also want to put small pumps here for some extra current, so some extra flow, because they live in streams and I want to replicate that a bit more. Filtration is also a point people do quite differently. All the keepers I know, there's a big difference between the way they do it. Some people use no sponge filter. They use just stagnant water that they change quite often. Some people use the sponge filters, and there are also people using the big elaborate external filtrations, the biological filtrations. Of course that works really well, but I like to keep it clean, and I'm changing water of all the turtles anyway, so I just do these also. As you can see, I created a lot of layers and hides. There's some exoterra hides in here. There's actually air pockets in these hides, so they can hide and breathe air, but don't have to leave the comfort of their hiding place. They can hide under here, they can hide under here, they can hide on top of here, under here, in here, between here. Well, you get the idea. A lot of hiding places, a lot of layers for them to hide, lay in the water, but have their head poking out of the water easily so they can breathe. That is the way they like it the most. A secure place to breathe some air, and then they just hang about there by day, and at night they go foraging. They are not good swimmers, so they don't need a deep water layer. This water surface is sufficient for them to stand on the back of the legs and reach the top of the aquarium. They're not good swimmers compared to, for instance, the Ginosaurus crocodilurus, otherwise the Chinese crocodiles, lizards, I believe you call them. I'm sorry, I'm really not good with these common names. I like to use the scientific names more. But yeah, so they don't need a high water layer. Adults you can keep in like 10, 12.5 centimeters. That's more than perfect. And people, when they breed the animals and introduce males to females, they even lower the water, so when they are breeding they can easily reach the surface with their head. So that's something to think about. But yeah, I think it's time to put the animal in. Again, some plants, it will grow fast. It will hopefully be a lot of vegetation in here and even more hides. I just set this one up, so it's a bit cloudy from all the moving in here, but as soon as I put the pumps on, that will be no problem. So I will put you to the side and then show you the Lanthanotus baby. Here he is. Let's see if I can get a bit better light on it. Don't mind the dirty floor, I'm busy. This is a young Lanthanotus borneensis. It's about 6 months old now. When we started these, we actually just keep them in a plastic tub with a layer of water, filtration mat as a place for them to get onto, so they can either choose between a deeper or more shallow part. And on that filtration mat we had a lot of hides and we had protoss growing on it. Worked really well, but as they get bigger, we didn't cut up the worms, and then the worms will crawl into the filtration mat. Like I've said, we haven't experienced these animals to be really difficult to maintain. One of the biggest and most important things, of course, is keep the water clean. In nature, they live in streams. In these streams, the water is continually changed, so that means they have access to fresh water pretty much all the time. pH is pretty neutral, we don't do anything about that, but we have a lot of wood and also catappa leaves in the water just to make it a bit more softer. We have the experience with aquatic reptiles like these, also for instance with Epeton tentaculum, which is the tentacled snake, which is also an Asian aquatic snake. And these animals are known to get skin infections, either a fungus or a bacteria on there, and that causes trouble. That can even damage the skin, and if you let it go any further than that, if you don't treat it, then they will get real wounds and they can die from that. These are all captive bred, but in the time there was some wild caught animals there. That was the biggest threat to them, next to the fact they weren't just properly transported. When feeding, they don't seem to be too difficult. Ours mainly eat worms, and we feed the Dendrobena, but mostly we like to feed night crawlers. They react stronger on it, and those are a bit less fat, and of course the night crawlers are bigger, so it's easier for them to get a proper meal with just a few worms, instead of just feeding these smaller Dendrobena in high numbers, giving them the time to get away. These are all captive bred. A lot of people still think these animals are smuggled. These animals are not getting smuggled anymore, at least not in high numbers into Europe, because first of all the prices have dropped immensely. These animals do get bred in Europe, there are several breeders breeding these, and the prices have dropped from several thousands to animals under €1,000. So there's no need for a smuggler now to catch them and trying to sell them, because we have access to captive bred animals without a problem. Which is also perfect for us, because there's less trouble, the animals are much more active, you don't have the chance of the skin issues that much. Of course, there's still a lot to be learned about these. There weren't a lot of animals known to science, and there were just a few specimens in musea. The reason you saw these animals pop up more and more, and this is of course a bit of a sad story, it was believed to be very rare, but at a certain point people kept finding them more and more. And the places people are finding them is actually in drainage layers around palm plantations. I'm sure a lot of you know Borneo and a lot of other countries, the rainforest is cut down for palm oil plantations, and yeah, all these animals that live in their habitats get chased out of it. I'm trying to get a bit better light, but it's hard. So it's not really sure if they're really that rare. They probably will be in a while if we keep destroying their habitat in a manner like this. So try to stay away from palm oil, fellows. But yeah, these are all captive bred. As you can say, in Europe they get bred more and more now, and people know more and more about them. Just keep them clean. They're pretty easy to feed. I also try to feed fish and pinky mouse and shrimp. Shrimp they will change. Fish, I haven't seen them caught except for the really big meal we had. He took a chunk out of an algae eater we put in there just to see what he does. But he didn't actually eat it. Yeah, worms is their main diet, and these also don't want pinkies, but the adults did eat pinkies. I think it's time now to put it in. When handling, it really depends on what's their mood. Some animals don't mind at all, and some animals bite really hard. There it is. As you can see, it really uses that tongue as any other varanid does. They also use that underwater. It's really cool to see them use it underwater. The belly is a bit lighter but still has the pattern. You can see a lot of rough skin and tubercles. Long body, long and slender neck with the ridges on top. There is actually some research done now that they are venomous, but there's not a lot known about the way they deliver. Really small eyes. At night, of course, they mostly hunt with their scent, and of course using that extra Jacob's organ that every varanid has. I don't want to stress it out too much. Really slender body. Thick tail, healthy animal. I'm actually holding this animal this way because they are fast. I'm doing this one-handed and I don't want it to drop. Please focus. There it goes. Look how cool of a lizard. Okay, I'm gonna put it in water. It's probably gonna hide right away. But at least you've seen the Lanthanotus. Don't crawl out, dummy. Hoppa. There it goes. As you can see, it wags a bit with its body, but they're not really good swimmers. They move in streams and currents, but they move from rock to rock and height to height. So yeah, we're not going to see it anymore for a while, I think. I'm sorry for the reflection, but it's better as not seeing the animal at all. But it's also something we've noticed, they seem to have a really high metabolism. We feed them quite often and then their belly can be really full, and then after a day or two they seem slim again, but the tail's thick and strong, so that's a good indication they're still healthy. The young seem to adapt to stress a bit more. Adults are known to stop feeding for a really long time, especially wild caught animals when they were moved, but eventually they all eat. Biggest problem is, like I said, the skin infection when they get in. When they are kept in really dirty water for a really long time, they need clean water. So that was it for this video. I'm gonna put the filtration back on. I hope you liked this video and you like me doing this one in English. I'm actually gonna do two playlists. One that's called Het Terrarium Kanaal with all Dutch videos, and of course we're gonna do the Terrarium channel. It's a different playlist on the same channel, but it's gonna be called the Terrarium channel, and on there you can find all the English videos. So if you don't understand our Dutch videos but want to see all the stuff we're doing here and want to learn more about the things we're doing and all the things we're seeing, then subscribe to this channel. Check out that playlist. I'm sure there's gonna be some good content in there for you. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you like this. If you do, please react, let us know, and I wish you all a good day. Goodbye.